This is the Great Vocal Majority Podcast. Hey everybody, it's Tony Codispati from GreatVocalMajority.com, and today I'm doing what I call a special report about the Jim Comey firing. And this is basically my take on what happened to Jim Comey. Now, since everyone is speculating about FBI Director Comey and why he was fired, I'll give you my take on it. Well, hey, why not? I'm going to join the fray. Why not everybody else is? First, let me say that I believe that the Russian investigation played no role, no direct role at least, but perhaps an indirect role, as I'll try to explain exactly how later. The Comey affair is really a culmination of an 8-year-long episode of lawlessness out of the Obama presidency. Now, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, is he kidding us? Is he actually going to blame Obama? Well, in a way, but not exactly. It's not directly an Obama thing, but I'll explain how Obama is involved. And here's what I'll point out about Obama. Obama didn't conduct his presidency inside the bounds of the law. He set the atmosphere where lawless behavior, non-adherence to well-established rules and protocols were just disregarded. He just disregarded well-established rules and protocols as a matter of routine. The Obama administration was like that. Obama did it, and people in his administration did it. So it should come as no surprise that the FBI director did it. He was an Obama appointee. I mean, yes, he's a Republican. We all know. I mean, they like to shove that in your face that, Comey's a Republican. Okay, so what? Does that mean he can't be corrupt? I mean, please. So he was an appointee by Obama. So he's behaving in a similar manner as his boss. Is that a shock? So Obama flouted the rule of law, as did the Clintons. I mean, the Clintons are notorious flouters of the law. Just the most cursory examination of the Clintons and their donors over the years. It reads like a rogues gallery. The donors to Bill and Hillary Clinton, it's just ridiculous. There's people with multiple felony convictions for such things as drug smuggling, fraud, Ponzi schemes, violations of campaign finance laws, embezzlement, influence peddling. I mean, the list goes on and on. Obama really isn't much better. I mean, he's not quite as bad as the Clintons in that regard, but he's not much better. Remember Tony Rezko? So one of the most unfortunate consequences of that happens when people have to work in close proximity with this sort of corruption is how easily transferable that corruption becomes. I mean, this was the case with Comey, in my opinion. In the midst of conducting that investigation of Hillary Clinton's email scandal, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, everybody knows this, met with Bill Clinton, privately on a plane. Now, look, that was so far removed from propriety. Once it became known, once everybody saw what was happening there, I mean, it had such a stink to it that Lynch had to recuse herself from acting on Comey's recommendation. You see, the way this process works is Comey is the investigator, and then he recommends to one of Lynch's deputies in the Department of Justice what to do with the matter. I mean, he may recommend there's an indictment, and Lynch can either act on it or not act on it. Or maybe Comey will recommend that no indictment be forthcoming, and maybe Lynch can change her mind on that. I mean, the point is, it's not Comey's decision. He's the investigator. It would be like if a cop was the actual prosecutor. So here you go. You had Lynch having to recuse herself from acting on Comey's recommendation, no matter what it was in the Clinton investigation. I mean, think about it. She couldn't indict Hillary Clinton. If she indicted Hillary Clinton, it might appear as if she was trying to save her own reputation, especially after having that meeting with Bill Clinton. And if she didn't indict, she would appear corrupt, and she was making a corrupt deal with Bill Clinton. So she was messed no matter what. And why? Because of Bill Clinton. Because these people are so corrupt, they just do things with their own rules, and they get in trouble with the law all the time. This is what happens with these people. So Lynch further broke protocol by not really appointing a deputy in the Department of Justice to conclude the matter. But this is where it gets really curious, folks, because by not doing so, what she did, she placed Comey in the position of having to make the call himself. Still, that was another break in protocol. But this is how the corrupt politicians operate. They're not concerned with the law. Their focus is on politics and appearances. So until this incident, the trajectory of the Clinton investigation was pointing towards indictments. Did we all forget this? There was broad speculation about how there would be a constitutional crisis if Hillary Clinton won the election, as it appeared she would. At that moment, though, and this is really key, and I think a lot of people have forgotten this. At that moment, though, James Comey, as FBI director, had tremendous credibility. Everybody called him a straight shooter. So corruptocrats like Loretta Lynch, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and Obama saw Comey's credibility as a life raft. And they needed that life raft to get out of this mess, to wash their hands of it and make it Comey's mess. You see what I'm saying here? But as usually happens in these kinds of situations, Comey's intercession made Comey the focus. And that's what these people wanted. I mean, it's so hard for me to maintain my composure here, because it's just such a study in the corruption of the Obamas and the Clintons and the administration of Barack Obama. It's such a study in their corruption, how they took Comey and corrupted him. I mean, that's really what happened here. So Comey has this press statement on July 5th that everybody's been talking about, and they say, well, that's why he should have been fired. But when Comey made that press statement, and then, which sounded like an indictment of Hillary Clinton, and then he switched it and said no indictment would be forthcoming, or no recommendation for indictment would be forthcoming, he should have been immediately fired by President Obama. But why wasn't he? Well, he wasn't, because they wanted him to do that. That was the point. That's what they wanted. Clearly, Lynch, the Clintons, and Obama wanted him to supersede his authority. They didn't complain about it. Don't you think that Loretta Lynch, at least, or somebody in the Department of Justice would open their mouth and say, hey, wait a minute, time out. Director Comey, you have no authority to do what you just did. But they didn't care. They wanted that to happen. There was a presidential election that they had to win. So they had to sweep this under the rug as best they could. And they made Comey do it. And Comey, like an idiot, went and did it. We'll have to find out why. Because he had no authority to do it. And so, he just overstepped his authority but what Comey failed to realize was that, and failed to understand, is that his July 5th presser, it wasn't even really a press conference, it was him making a statement and taking no questions. It could never be the end of this. It was really just the beginning, because when new facts came out that Comey had to reopen the investigation into the Hillary Clinton email scandal, he had to make that fact known. The corruption of everyone around him rubbed off on him too. He was doomed from the moment, from that moment. And when Attorney General Sessions was able to have deputies responsible for the FBI in place, he was going to be gone. Because in the new Trump administration, which actually values the rule of law, there would be no place for an FBI director who was willing to play footsie with corruptocrats. James Comey managed to twist himself around the axle even further with even more missteps and misstatements about the Clinton investigation. And his decision against indictments just began to pile up, and it just looked really bad. It looked like there were two sets of rules, which there are, for Abedin and Hillary Clinton and all the other people that worked for Hillary Clinton, all of them. There's going to be much wailing and gnashing of teeth about Comey's dismissal, but very few people are arguing over whether Comey deserved it. They're really wondering, why now? Well, really, that's a question. That's a question that really should be put to Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats. They were the ones who held up Senate confirmation votes and hearings. They still are. For dozens of sub-cabinet offices. So maybe if they acted with more urgency, Comey would have been replaced long ago. Okay, now what I want to talk about is this Russian thing and why I'm saying it is not related to Russia. Jim Comey did not get fired because of the investigation around any Russian involvement or tampering with our election and any connection they may have had with anybody in the Trump campaign or administration. Think about the scenario here. As a witness to this, it really does appear to me that the Democratic Party is having a collective nervous breakdown. And here's what I mean by that. They're making no sense at all. But they're going to get away with it because the media is just as incoherent and lacking in integrity. Think about the way Democrats demanded Trump listen to the acting Attorney General Sally Yates when she had recommendations about Michael Flynn. She had all these concerns and she thought Michael Flynn needed to be removed because he was a danger and all of this. And well, the Democrats were outraged because Donald Trump just wouldn't listen to Sally Yates because Sally Yates was, even though they say she was not a political appointee, she was a staunch Democrat. She gave thousands of dollars in campaign contributions to the Democrats and not the Republicans. So clearly, she was a problem. But Trump eventually did listen to Sally Yates because he did fire Michael Flynn, and the Democrats complained about that. They were outraged at the way Trump dumped Flynn. Remember that? So then in that episode, the Democrats were outraged that Trump didn't listen to the professionals at the Department of Justice. And then later, when he did listen to them, they were mad at that. So they were mad no matter what he did. And then when it comes to this current situation, Trump's DOJ Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, who was responsible for overseeing the FBI, was confirmed by the United States Senate on April 25th to that position by a vote of 94-6. That's a very bipartisan vote. And he is well respected across the board. He's the man responsible for reviewing Comey's job performance and his actions. And he's the one who recommended to Attorney General Sessions and to President Trump that Comey be fired. Now, while all this is going on, from April 25th until today, the Democrats have been doing nothing but complaining about how Jim Comey screwed Hillary Clinton in the election by having those press conferences in July and October, and how that really skewed the vote and how it may have affected the way people voted. All the while they're complaining that Comey should be fired because of his actions regarding the Clinton investigation. And so Trump fires Comey. But he doesn't just fire Comey on his own. He gets the recommendations from the people who review Comey's performance. And the Democrats complain about that, saying it looks like he's firing him because of Russia. So what the Democrats are trying to say now is that Rod Rosenstein is in on the Russian thing. And that's why it doesn't have anything to do with Russia, because now you have to implicate Rod Rosenstein. Does that make any sense to anybody? And this is why I think the Democrats are really losing their minds. And I mean that in a clinical sense. They really don't seem to have it together. So I wanted to lay that out, because boy, oh boy, when you really start looking at the way the Democrats are behaving nowadays, they're really losing it. So that's my little addendum for this special report. Thanks for listening. Come to the website, or better yet, come to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Thanks. Take care.